back to Wedding Wednesday. Hello if you're a bride. Hello if you're going to be a bride one day. Hello if you've already been a bride. Hello to all the brides at heart. So last week I did a little chatty video on kind of some of the things that I've learned so far, and I told you guys to leave some questions below, and I told you that I would finally have my blue couch and my beautiful Wedding Wednesday set up. I did not lie to you. What happened was they sent me a 4-set outdoor furniture set instead of my beautiful blue couch. So here I am, the same setup, but next week I'll be on the blue couch, hopefully, and I'll be able to do like the real Wedding Wednesday video. But a lot of you guys left the most wonderful questions under my video, and thank you for your support, and thank you for being like people that love joy and positivity and let go of those little things too. So many people gave me so many awesome words of advice and messages of encouragement and thanked me for the video, but thank y'all for all of the things that you left below and all of your questions and just being those kind of people. So I decided to go through, and I'm only gonna do half the questions today because there were so many questions, and I've chosen some questions and I like barely went through and picked them, and I didn't really think them through because I want to give you my honest answers. And let's begin. Okay. So I loved all of these questions, but I'm just going to start from the beginning. So Anna, you asked the question, aside from the dress, what do you recommend going all out for? Like the venue or the cake or the flowers or the invitations, whatever. And that was a question that was asked so many times. So Anna, coming from a bride that just bought her second, actually technically third wedding dress, obviously, like, the dress is something that I think you should go all out for, and I think that's something that's really special. Right now, I'm about to go to a meeting right now where I'm deciding if we're going to drape the entire Country Music Hall of Fame in, like, draping and do this flower ring and do these flower, all of this stuff. And I'm starting to think that the thing I don't need to go as much all out for as I thought originally, maybe flowers. So a lot of people say, I wish I hadn't paid so much for flowers, because obviously we know about the flower that dies the next day, and you can't take all those flowers with you on your honeymoon, unless I guess you're going to Hawaii and you want to make your own lace, but still there's not much that you can do with flowers after. So I'm trying to figure out some places in my budget where I can kind of cut. So my venue was a splurge, and in my opinion, I think a venue is a really important thing. I think that it sets the mood for the whole thing. And I think a venue and a dress, those are definitely something that you want to splurge on. I think photography and videography are two things that you absolutely need to splurge on. And the things that I think you can let go maybe in the decor realm, because there was somebody that's a wedding coordinator, I think her name's Lauren. She was like, nobody's gonna remember if it was a $350 centerpiece or a $125 centerpiece. And girl, you rang a bell in my head. I was like, that is so true. That is so true. So if I had to say something to splurge on besides the dress, venue, photography, videography, those are gonna be my #1 choices. And I'll talk a little bit about like things that you can kind of skimp on later on, because a lot of people had that question. So thanks, Anna. And Kyle was supposed to be in this video, but he's not back yet. And Big Mama can't wait, so he'll be in the next one. Okay. So Emily said, oh, this is such a, you asked so many great questions, Emily. You said, how do you and Kyle choose to cherish and celebrate this stage of your life? You know, I feel like I live my life celebrating everything, especially wedding things. So I choose to celebrate, this is gonna sound kind of funny, but it's kind of something that I talked about in my other video. I celebrate this time in my life by not getting caught up on those little things and not bawling crying over somebody that's upset because they're sitting by somebody, or bawling crying because I couldn't spend more money on my invitations. Or I try to celebrate this time in my life by focusing on the positive things and just like powering through with joy, because sometimes you have to turn that joy switch on in your head, and you have to say, you know what, this is an awesome time in my life and it's a celebration. And I talked a lot about that in my last video, but that's a way that I cherish this time, because if something means a lot to you, like, you treat it like that, you celebrate that thing. And you know, Kyle and I we have a lot of like little talks about it, like, we're just so excited about this, like, we're so happy to be doing this or that. And another way that we celebrate this time together, Kyle has been present, and probably I'd say the central focus of like every single wedding meeting that I've had. And I really cherish that, because I know that like a lot of brides are like, he didn't know what kind of flowers I was having until the day I showed up, and Kyle's over here like, I mean, I like the white orchid, but I really love the white orchid with the purple spots in it. Like, I'm very thankful for that, and I cherish that during this time that he's so involved and so awesome. So I celebrate it by being joyful, not getting caught up on those little things, and by being sure that we do this whole process together. Because I think you'll look back and you'll be like, man, I wish I was there for that. Well, if you're a man, I would hope that you would say that. Okay, what traditions am I keeping and which ones am I ditching? So, I love when a groom can see a bride walking down the aisle for the first time. And I love that, I do. I'm getting married at 6:30 at night, and I'm having a full Catholic Mass. So my wedding starts at 6:30, and we don't get to that reception until 8 o'clock. There ain't no daylight, and pictures are so important to me. So I'm ditching that tradition, and we are doing a first look. I told Kyle I wanted to have a day wedding. That was the one thing that he like pushed on, and we're having a wedding at night, and it's going to be incredibly awesome. But we do have to do a first look, and hopefully we're going to do that at Cheekwood, like in the outdoor garden. Kyle's going to be sweating like a stuck hog, but whatever. So that's one that I'm ditching. Keeping, obviously, like all the little traditions I'm keeping. So I'm having, obviously, my dad walked me up the aisle, all of the father-daughter dance, and the groom and his mom dance, and all of those like little typical traditions, the feeding the cake to each other. I'm absolutely keeping all those little ones. I'm keeping. And so another question, do we have a wedding? And several people ask this too. So do we have a wedding planner, or am I using like one of those books or guides? So I was gifted a lot of those books and guides in the beginning when I first got engaged. And I think if you can't afford or don't want a wedding planner, or from a small town where there aren't many options, so you don't need a wedding planner, or there isn't even a wedding planner in your hometown, then those books and guides are awesome. And on Pinterest even, like I found so many little checklists, and those checklists are as accurate as the ones that my wedding planner gave to me. So I think those books and guides are awesome. I do better with like a one sheet kind of checklist thing. So I'll look at the one that my wedding planner gave me and go through, and they'll do like 12 months, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, the things that you have to do. So 12 months, obviously, like venue, photography, whatever, and then 3 months you're looking at your invitations, and you know, there's different things in each of those blocks. But I definitely think that those things are really effective. The one thing that I think a wedding planner can do for you, but this kind of applies if you're from a bigger city where there are a lot of options and competitive pricing. So I think that a wedding planner helps me with pricing. So they have an in with this florist, and they can get a 20% discount if we go with them, and it's better than this florist for this reason or whatever. Like, there's the competitive pricing aspect. So that's one reason that I chose to get a wedding planner too. And because Nashville, whoa, and Country Music Hall of Fame, I mean, there's a lot of other things going on there, like Johnny Cash's memorabilia being rolled in and out. So, you know, I needed a wedding planner, but I absolutely think those books and guides are awesome. Okay, wedding favors, yes or no? So I've heard so many people, so this is something that's a new tradition. So in the past, 5 years or whatever, everybody's doing these little welcome baskets in a hotel room, or they're doing something to give away at the reception. And one of my aunts one time said this, and I was like, that's true. And she said, it used to be all about showering the bride and groom, and now it's like, what can I give my guests? Like, what thing can I like outdo this last wedding to give to people? And I think that's a good point, and I think it's totally up to you. I'm a gift giver, and I always have been a gift giver. So wedding favors, from the time I was like 5 years old, I'm already thinking of, I want to give this to my guests, and I want to give this, and I want to have this sitting at there. That's just me. But don't just do wedding favors because everybody else is doing wedding favors, because that's a big expense. That's an extra $2,000, if you go all out and do these big kind of packages. And it's something that I've seen a lot of brides scrambling to do the last minute, and it kind of takes that last minute joy and anticipation. Oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to get married, like let's get some good sleep, and I gotta get my spray tan, and I gotta get my waxing appointments and all that. You're like stuffing cellophane and like marshmallows with your picture on it into like a bucket. I would rather be at the waxing appointment, but anyway, so go with what you think. But if you are gonna be like me and do wedding favors, I'm not gonna be doing them that same week. I'm gonna be on Etsy 2 months before, finding something really cool and some good items, not a bunch of crap, not like a pencil, You ain't gonna get a pencil in my welcome basket or a bottle of water. Because you could get water out the vending machine on your floor at the hotel. Okay, so next question was from Leanna. So she is her sister's maid of honor. Hey girl, I was my sister's maid of honor just recently. And she says, do I have any advice for a maid of honor for just general duties or for a speech? So I think so many maids of honor overthink that speech. How many of you like have ever been to a wedding and you're not expecting like Tony Robbins or like an inspirational speech? What you want to hear and see is like love and like that relationship, like funny stories and stuff like that. So my recommendation for a maid of honor speech is to absolutely 100% like tell those stories. Tell the story of you guys when you were little, like a funny story. Not too many inside jokes, because sometimes people go like over the top with, you know what I'm talking about when I say this, and you like don't tell the full story and everybody's like, we don't know. Or like, remember when this happened, but you gotta tell the story. So I would say like go in depth, like some awesome story of the two of you. I think also a great thing to share in a maid of honor speech is how you met the groom. So I talked about like the first time that I met my sister's husband, Geff, and like, you know, what I thought, and like I told that story the first time that I met him. And then you do the more general, like how it's evolved. And then I also, I really like it when people point out like qualities in the bride and groom that they think is going to make this an incredible like union. So I would talk about, and don't just talk about your sister, talk about your sister and talk about her husband, because this is a speech to both of them. So I would say like here are the things that Jade and Geff have in common. They're both very loyal. And then I told a story of Jade being loyal, a specific story, like one time I did this and she was there, whatever. Geff being loyal. When we were at this weekend, he was calling his friend. And then I did, they're both fun-loving, and told specific stories about those two. And they're both, and I did like, I'd say like 3 or 5. And I chose, you know, specific qualities, but then I made them, you know, this is why this is a quality for Jade and this is why it's Geff. Because if you get up there and you say they're both fun-loving, and they both have a big heart, and they're both really kind. Like, that kind of sounds like a speech maybe you Googled, but if you say they're both really loyal, like this one time Jade did this, and this one time Geff did that. So go into specifics and like make it really something to both of them, and that's my advice. And then duties, like as a maid of honor, your duties, which some people aren't traditional, but you're supposed to plan the bachelorette party and a bridal shower for your sister, or a couple shower for both of them. So those are the only duties that I know specifically, besides like holding the bouquet. And just being there for general moral support, which is a duty with a capital D. Okay, next. Sherry, I love this. She's been married for 30 years. Congratulations to you, and I would love to hear the secret to being married for 30 years from you. Comment that below my video if you see this, because that is awesome. And so your daughter is about to get engaged. So she has 2 questions. She said it's so different than it was planning a wedding 30 years ago, which that's so true. There are so many like just random things that are so different. So the things that are different, I would say, are showers. It seems like way back when, women, like a bride, there would be one big bridal shower. Now, I think it's tradition for the groom's family to throw a bridal shower, for the bride's family to throw a bridal shower. A lot of times there are couple showers. So I would talk to your daughter like once she gets engaged and say, you know, what type, would you rather have a couple shower? Would you rather, so there are a lot more of those little parties. Even for men, like some men will have what they call like a tool party or something. Kyle don't need no tools, so he didn't get to have no tool party. But we are having like a couple shower also. So I would say things like that, like showering the bride and groom, that's a little bit different. I'd say the tradition of the wedding though is very similar. Like I was really surprised at how a wedding ceremony is still almost exactly the same, and the traditions of the father-daughter dance and all those things that I talked about before are very similar to the way that they used to be. There are little things like the first look, obviously. That's something that's different that people didn't used to really do back then. you know, different little things like that. But I would say, like, as the mother of the bride, just like be there with your daughter to celebrate and make it an exciting time. Like, I don't know if your daughter is one of those people that gets really stressed or like gets really overwhelmed with things, but just encourage her to just be in the moment and enjoy it and help with all the things that you can help with. But yeah, that's my big thing, like in the wedding and the wedding planning process, is I've just tried to like remain as stress-free and positive as I can to support her in that. But obviously, like, I love to tell people all the time, like I talked about a while ago, to go on Pinterest, and they have a lot of wedding checklists, and it'll tell you like specifics of what to do at 12 months, 9 months, 6 months, and 3 months, and those things are super, super accurate. So instead of me going through and listing all that, I'll link my favorite one below, and you can check that out. But congrats again for being married for 30 years and for having an almost engaged daughter. Okay, makeup artist Alicia asks, this is a great question. Should a bride pay for her bridesmaids' dresses or have them pay for them? So this is just going to be a personal preference of you. Is this in your budget? Is it in your parents' budget? Whoever's paying for your wedding. So for me, I'm getting married in Nashville, and 1, 2, 3 of my bridesmaids live here, and 3 of my bridesmaids live out of town. If you have bridesmaids that are traveling in, they're going to have their travel fare, and then they're going to have their, obviously, like your bridal shower and bachelorette party traveling fare or whatever, and they're going to have the expense of a hotel room and all of that. So for me, that's why I chose to go ahead and buy my bridesmaids dresses. I was originally going, or my parents helped me buy my bridesmaids dresses. Originally, my parents were like, no, that's something we can save on. Why don't you have your bridesmaids buy the dresses? And I felt like, gosh, they're traveling so far. So I was considering paying for half of the dress and like letting them pay for the other half, but we went ahead and just paid for the whole thing. And I think it's totally a personal preference. I think this day and age, the majority of bridesmaids are paying for at least some of their bridesmaids dresses. If you are making your bridesmaids pay for their dresses, though, be really considerate of where people are financially, depending like if your friends are well established or not. I mean, I wouldn't be getting a bridesmaid dress over $300 or some like crazy $500 dress if you're making people pay for it themselves. So totally personal preference. That's kind of my take on it, and I hope that answered your question. Okay, Grace said, Grace, you are awesome, first of all, because she's in school, she's in the military, she's engaged, and first of all, I'm sure you have a high-stress job because you're in the military, which is awesome, and thank you for everything that you do for all of us here watching this YouTube channel. And you were just talking about, like, the only thing that you've planned is your bridesmaids and maybe how you're going to ask them, that you love a lot of ideas, but you're on a tighter budget. Totally get that. And I've seen the most beautiful weddings ever on a shoestring budget. So don't think at all that you're not going to have the most grand, beautiful, spectacular wedding because you're on a tight budget. Absolutely not. Everybody's at a different place financially, and getting married in Nashville, Tennessee is going to be different than getting married in some other town, and you can do so many beautiful things on hardly any budget at all. And what I've been like preaching through this whole entire process is that the wedding is just about the time and the love and so many things like that. Anyway, I'm cutting back my flower and decor budget because those things that are so expensive and that people with a big budget can do, they really aren't even sometimes that important. I mean, I'd love to be featured in Martha Stewart Weddings magazine and have all those things showcased, but what if I'm not? And like, what if I spent like a house payment? I would encourage you to look at it a little bit different and think like, I'm gonna be able to have an awesome wedding on a shoestring budget. I've just gotta get creative. So I'll do a video on like maybe some DIY ideas or how to plan a wedding on a budget, something like that. I would love to do that because there are certain things that I've done for free or that I've chosen to do myself in a kind of DIY way that I haven't paid for that I would be happy to share with you guys. So thank you, Grace, for that. Madison asked, what are the top 3 things to splurge on in a wedding? So I've already talked a little bit about that. Photographer and videographer were like my #1. Venue is really important, and dress. So if you are a person that, say you're getting a ball gown to get married in, or say you're getting, say you're wearing, you're having an outdoor wedding and you're in a short dress because of the ground, or say, if you want to, if you feel like, man, I wish I could wear this kind of dress too, but my circumstance, whatever it be, is preventing me from doing that, do what I did last week and get you another dress and wear 2 dresses if you can afford it. My parents were like, we only bought Jade 1 dress, So it's the principle of it. We can only buy you one dress, so I bought my own second wedding dress. Actually, third. Whatever. Like, I didn't want to look back on this day and say, man, I really, really wanted to wear this type of dress, and I wore it, and I'm so happy I did, but I wish I would have worn that. So that was one of my splurges. And I think that a dress is a big splurge, whether it's splurging on one dress or whether it's splurging and getting two. That's just my opinion. Emily J asked, what was my bridesmaid dress for Jade's wedding? And a lot of people have actually asked this. So Jade's bridesmaid's dresses were from Beholden, and the belt was separate. So they were the pink ones, and they were lace, and they V'd in the front. And they were really, there were so many different body types in her bridesmaid lineup. You know, there were people like with big chests, and there were teeny tiny, like narrow shoulders and tiny waists, and like me, I was kind of shaped like a box at that point in time. And this dress was really flattering for everyone. This was a really affordable dress too. I'll link it below. They have it in several different colors, and it was a beautiful dress. So Beholden, and I'll link that below. I'm gonna do a few more. So Sydney said, what's one wedding item I loved planning, and which one was my least favorite to plan? That's a great question. So I actually loved the paper. I loved planning the invitations and the save the dates a lot for some reason. I actually really loved the venue search too. Like, even though I was kind of like, man, I wish I could have this kind of wedding and this kind of wedding. Like, I loved that whole process. That was really fun for me. The bridesmaid dress search was not as fun to me because all the ones that I looked at were like not that cute until the end, and my friends started designing it, and then that became a fun process. I would have to say the decor is stressful a little bit because that's where you blow your budget. And I don't understand like how many thousands of dollars you can spend on like draping a wall. So that's been a little bit stressful because trying to figure that out, like what do we actually need to make this place look good? Because you can't see it. You don't get a trial run of decor. So you really have to trust that what you're splurging on and what you're spending is gonna look like you think it's gonna look in your head. So there's a lot of trust that goes into that process. And I'd have to say that that's been the thing that's kind of like didn't feel as exciting to plan because there's so many unknowns. Okay, I'm gonna do two more. B Mayachi, what do you recommend spending money on? What do you recommend saving on? Spending money, dresses, and I think you should spend a little bit more if you're able to on a bridesmaid dress because these girls are in all of your pictures. And unless you're making them buy them yourself, and if you have the budget, I say go a little bit nicer on bridesmaid dresses. That's something that I did. And what can you save on? If you're not a person that likes wedding favors, go ahead and save on that. That's a couple $1,000s you can probably knock out by not getting every single person that's coming to your wedding a gift. Or programs. You don't have to do programs. That's an extra expense. You don't have to have extra musicians like strings and stuff like that. You can always play a track. There's several little things that you can kind of knock out. Draping is something that's really expensive. If you can do something with lighting, things like that. And candles, I think, can go a really long way in replacing all the florals. And also greenery, that's a way that you can save money too. So I'm doing like all white flowers and I go back and forth, do I want any greenery or not? That's really a way to save some money. So I think you should save money on flowers because they die the next day, and a way to save money on those is using greenery. Cindy asked, what was the most fun thing so far? I mean, I had a great time filming Say Yes to the Dress. Like, what an experience. I had a great time looking at venues and filming it for YouTube, actually. Those two things were really fun for me. And my Say Yes to the Dress, I still don't know when it's airing. So it was supposed to air before my wedding, which I didn't really want it to. And my prayer was answered because it's actually going to air next season. So I'll tell you guys as soon as I know the date that it's going to air. And yeah, so that was really fun. Last one that I'm doing. So what are some things that I made up my mind on, or is there anything that like Kyle made the last decision on, and was it hard for me to like let go of control? So there are a few things that I've been like, I'm indecisive about it, I don't know where we are in the budget, and then I place those things over here because I don't want to get stressed over them, so I don't like him and haw. And then it comes time where I'm getting email after email after email, and we got to make a decision, and I have to hand those things over to Kyle and trust that the decision that he makes is going to be the best one. because it's not worth me feeling like I'm going to make the wrong decision or feeling stressed over those things. So I'm actually letting Kyle do a lot of the decor and like the flowers and stuff like that. I let him pick out the suits, obviously. Like, I let him pick out several things. He actually, so there's one like really big thing with our invitations that I was like, I don't want that. And he really wanted it, and I let go control of that, and I was like, okay, let's design it like this. And it was awesome. So there are several things. I'm not a control freak, so I do think my ideas are the best ideas. But sometimes I let other people try, and then sometimes I realize my idea wasn't the best idea. But I don't have like this thing where I have to act like, well, mine was the best idea, but I wanted to give you that. Like, I was like, you were right. So invitations, and whenever I do my invitation video, I'll show you guys what that thing was, and he was totally right, and it was a really great decision. So that was the first half of questions. I know this is kind of like a long video, but you guys had so many awesome questions. I hope I answered all of your questions, and I hope you guys are loving this series. So I'm going to do more specific videos as soon as I get this set up. So I'm going to do videos on designing my bridesmaids dresses, on little party favors, on how we chose our menu, on seating arrangements, just specific stuff like that. But I wanted to answer a lot of these questions too, because a lot of you guys are brides planning your wedding, and I can't just be like, I'll answer it later. I had to answer it today. So I hope you guys love this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And remember, be joyful, be excited, and celebrate this time in your life if you're in the middle of it. And thanks so much for watching. Bye!